When human relationships start to feel too complex, too demanding, or simply too exhausting, something quiet begins to happen. Millions of people don't withdraw from connection altogether. They redirect it. Instead of turning to friends for advice or partners for comfort, they find their deepest sense of safety in the silent presence of a dog, a cat, or even a bird. A presence that doesn't ask questions, doesn't require explanations, doesn't need you to be okay. This video is about why that happens. We live in a world that never stops communicating. Messages arrive instantly. Faces appear on screens at any hour. You can reach almost anyone, almost anywhere, and yet loneliness continues to rise. Not because we lack contact, but because connection has become emotionally expensive. You might recognize the moment. You pick up your phone, wanting to reach out. You scroll through names of people who care, and then you stop. Not because there's no one there, but because you're too tired to explain yourself, too tired to manage how you'll be perceived. So you put the phone down. Loneliness here isn't about being alone. It's about not feeling emotionally safe while being connected. And when human connection begins to feel like effort instead of refuge, the nervous system starts looking, quietly, for somewhere it can finally rest. Loneliness is often treated like a mood, something you should be able to think your way out of. Call a friend, get busy, stay positive. But loneliness doesn't live in your thoughts first, it lives in your body. Neuroscience shows that social pain activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Rejection, exclusion, being unseen, your nervous system processes these experiences the way it processes injury. Not symbolically, literally. When loneliness lingers, the body doesn't interpret it as sadness. It interprets it as danger. Your system shifts into a state of hypervigilance. The world begins to feel sharper, less predictable. You start scanning for threat without realizing it. A neutral expression feels cold. A delayed reply feels personal. A quiet moment in conversation lands as rejection. This isn't pessimism, it's protection. From a biological standpoint, being socially disconnected once meant being unsafe. Alone meant exposed, so your nervous system adapts by becoming alert, guarded, ready. The problem is that this state was never meant to be permanent. Over time, connection itself begins to feel risky, not because people are unkind, but because your body is already braced. Even supportive interactions require effort. Even warmth feels like something you have to manage. This is the cruel loop of loneliness. The more you need connection, the harder your system makes it to reach for it. And when the body is stuck in that state, it doesn't look for conversation. It looks for relief. When loneliness settles into the body, human connection doesn't disappear. It just starts to feel costly. Not because you suddenly dislike people, and not because you've become antisocial or closed off, but because every interaction begins to require more regulation than you have available. In a body that's already on high alert, social connection turns into emotional labor. You're not just listening anymore. You're tracking tone, reading facial expressions, managing your reactions, choosing your words carefully. You're monitoring how you're being perceived in real time, and that takes energy. Small moments start to feel heavy. A pause in conversation feels loaded. A neutral response feels dismissive. You replay interactions afterward, wondering what you did wrong or what you should have said differently. Even kindness can feel destabilizing because it arrives when your system isn't prepared to receive it. So you adapt. You shorten conversations, you delay responding, you tell yourself you'll reach out later when you have more capacity. But later rarely comes, because the longer this pattern continues, the more your nervous system associates people with effort instead of ease. This is where many misunderstand themselves. They assume they're withdrawing because they don't care enough, or because they're too sensitive, or because something is wrong with them. But what's actually happening is much simpler and much more human. Your body is trying to conserve energy. It's choosing distance not as rejection, but as regulation. It's protecting you from overstimulation, from misattunement, from the quiet exhaustion of having to be on when you already feel depleted. And here's the important part most people miss. This withdrawal isn't a lack of desire for connection. It's a sign that connection no longer feels safe enough to be effortless. So your system begins to search not for more interaction, but for a form of presence that asks less of you. When human connection starts to feel expensive, the nervous system doesn't stop wanting closeness. It just becomes more selective about where it looks for it. This is where animals enter the picture. A dog doesn't ask you to explain what you're feeling. A cat doesn't expect you to make sense of your sadness. A bird doesn't need reassurance that you're okay. Their presence is quiet, but not empty. With animals, there is no social performance to maintain. No need to choose the right words, no pressure to regulate your emotions, so someone else feels comfortable. You can sit beside them in whatever state you're in, and nothing about the relationship changes. This is what psychologists mean by presence without pressure. Your body doesn't have to stay alert. It doesn't have to scan for misunderstanding or rejection. There's no risk of saying too much or not enough. The nervous system finally receives a clear signal. Nothing is being asked of you right now. And that signal matters, because safety isn't created by reassurance alone. It's created by consistency, by predictability, by knowing that showing up exactly as you are won't cost you connection. Animals offer that kind of steadiness, not because they understand your story, but because they don't need to. Their acceptance doesn't depend on context or explanation. It simply exists. In that space, something inside you softens, your shoulders drop, your breathing slows. You're no longer bracing for response or evaluation. You're just there. And for a nervous system that's been carrying too much for too long, that quiet relief can feel like coming home. Not everyone turns to animals for the same reason. What looks like a personality preference is often a difference in how nervous systems recharge. For introverts, even positive social interaction requires sustained processing. Reading cues, managing responses, staying attuned. When an introverted nervous system is already taxed, people time doesn't restore energy, it spends it. In those moments, animals offer something uniquely restorative. A cat sleeping nearby, a dog resting at your feet, no conversation to maintain, no emotional pacing to manage, just shared space. Psychologists sometimes call this alone together, a state where presence exists without engagement. For introverts, that low-demand companionship allows the nervous system to settle without shutting down. Extroverts experience loneliness differently. Their systems are oriented toward feedback and interaction. Silence doesn't feel neutral, it feels empty. Disconnection is felt as an absence of energy rather than an overload. For them, animals often become a bridge rather than a refuge. A dog creates rhythm, movement, routine, walking outside. Saying hello to strangers, the pet becomes a social catalyst, offering connection that feels safe enough to re-enter the world. What matters here isn't whether you're introverted or extroverted. It's that animals adapt to the shape of your need. They can be quiet without being isolating. They can be engaging without being overwhelming. In both cases, the animal meets the nervous system where it is without forcing it to change first. And that flexibility is exactly what makes the bond feel so naturally regulating. The relief you feel around an animal isn't imagined, it's physiological. The moment you begin to stroke a dog's fur or feel a cat settle beside you, your body starts to shift. Within minutes, the brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone involved in bonding, trust and caregiving. Oxytocin lowers blood pressure, softens emotional reactivity, and creates a sense of closeness without effort. At the same time, cortisol, the hormone associated with stress and vigilance, begins to drop. But the most important change happens deeper, in the nervous system itself. Loneliness and chronic stress keep the body locked in a state of readiness. Heart rate elevated, muscles subtly tense, attention scanning. Interaction with an animal signals the opposite. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, responsible for recovery and regulation. This is why relief often arrives before thought. You might notice your breathing deepen, your jaw unclench, the constant background noise in your mind quiet down. Studies show that even passive presence, watching fish in an aquarium or observing a dog sleeping, can synchronize heart rate variability into a calmer, more coherent rhythm. Your body isn't being convinced it's safe. It's being shown. Animals regulate through rhythm, warmth, and consistency. Their breathing, their movement, their predictable responses. Your nervous system picks up on these cues automatically, without analysis or effort. So when you feel calmer in their presence, you're not escaping reality. You're allowing your body to remember a state it was designed to return to. And once regulation begins at the physical level, emotional relief naturally follows. Much of human connection, even in loving relationships, carries an unspoken expectation. Do better, feel better, move on. We offer advice, we try to help. We suggest perspective, often with good intentions. But when someone is already overwhelmed, being helped can feel like being corrected. The psychologist Carl Rogers described the rare condition that allows real healing to happen as unconditional positive regard, being accepted fully, without judgment, without evaluation, without the pressure to change. In theory, it's the foundation of good therapy. In practice, it's incredibly hard for humans to offer consistently. Animals, however, embody it effortlessly. Your dog doesn't ask why you're still sad. Your cat doesn't grow impatient with your silence. They don't need you to process faster or make sense of your pain. They stay. This matters more than it seems, because vulnerability doesn't emerge in environments where you're being monitored. It emerges where nothing is demanded, where your emotional state doesn't become a problem that needs solving. With animals, you don't have to translate your experience into words. You don't have to justify your feelings or package them in a way that's easier for someone else to digest. You can cry without explanation. You can be quiet without being asked what's wrong. And in that space, something important happens. The nervous system stops bracing for response. The mask you wear for the world begins to loosen. Not all at once, but enough to breathe. Being witnessed without interference allows your emotions to move instead of getting stuck. Healing doesn't always require insight or solutions. Sometimes it begins with being allowed to feel, fully, imperfectly, without consequence. Animals offer that kind of witnessing, not because they understand your pain, but because they don't need you to be anything other than present. And for a system that has learned to survive by managing how it's seen, that kind of acceptance can be profoundly repairing. To understand why animals can feel so emotionally grounding, we have to look at attachment. Attachment theory tells us that safety isn't just about comfort. It's about knowing there is someone you can move toward when you're distressed, and somewhere you can return to when the world feels too much. For children, that role is meant to be filled by caregivers. They become a safe haven and a secure base. But not everyone grows up with that experience. For people who learned early that emotional needs were inconvenient, ignored, or unpredictable, the attachment system adapts. Wanting closeness begins to feel risky. Depending on others feels uncertain. And yet, the need for connection never disappears. In adulthood, pets often step into this role quietly. They offer proximity without volatility. You seek them out when you're overwhelmed. Their presence anchors you, and when you leave, you feel the pull to return, not out of obligation, but out of attachment. There's another layer here that's easy to overlook: the need to be needed. Knowing that a living being relies on you for care creates a powerful sense of purpose. Someone is waiting for you. Someone notices when you're gone. For a person struggling with emptiness or disconnection, that sense of being essential can be deeply stabilizing. This isn't dependency, it's anchoring. Being needed counters the belief that your presence doesn't matter. It grounds you in the world when relationships with people feel fragile or uncertain. And over time, that steady bond can begin to repair something older, teaching your nervous system that connection doesn't always lead to disappointment. The comfort animals provide is real, and for many people it's essential. But there's a quiet question worth asking, without judgment, without urgency. Is this connection a sanctuary, or has it slowly become a bunker? A sanctuary is a place you return to in order to recover. A bunker is a place you hide in to avoid what feels unsafe outside. The difference isn't about love, it's about movement. When animals help regulate your nervous system, restore your capacity, and remind your body what safety feels like, that's healing. They become a base you can return to between moments of engagement with the world. But when their presence becomes the only place you feel okay, when the idea of human connection feels increasingly intolerable rather than simply tiring, that's not preference, that's protection, hardening into avoidance. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Avoidance often develops after disappointment, misattunement, or emotional injury. The nervous system learns this is safer. Stay here. The risk isn't loving animals too much. The risk is asking them to carry more than they were meant to hold. Animals can soothe, ground, and stabilize us, but they can't challenge us gently. They can't meet us in complexity. They can't help us practice being known, not because they fail, but because that was never their role. This distinction matters, because healing isn't about choosing animals over people. It's about knowing when comfort is helping you recover, and when it's quietly keeping you from re-entering connection at all. The goal was never to replace people with animals. The goal was to remember what safety feels like. Your pet didn't become important because they fixed you. They became important because they showed your nervous system something it may have forgotten or never fully learned, that connection doesn't have to hurt. That presence can exist without pressure. That being seen doesn't always come with consequence. That experience matters. It becomes a reference point, a felt sense you can carry with you. Not everywhere, and not with everyone, but with the right people. Integration isn't about suddenly becoming more social or more open. It's about becoming more selective, choosing environments and relationships that don't demand performance, allowing connection to grow at a pace your nervous system can tolerate. Your pets can remain what they are, a place of grounding, steadiness, and unconditional presence, not a bunker, not a replacement, but a reminder. And from that reminder, something shifts. You may begin to notice that you don't need everyone to feel safe. Just a few people who listen without fixing, who stay without asking you to hurry, who let you arrive as you are. Slowly, that sense of calm can travel with you into conversations, into friendships, into moments where being human no longer feels like a risk you have to calculate. If this video helped you feel understood, you're not alone here. This channel explores the quieter patterns of the human mind, without judgment, without pressure. If you want more conversations like this, consider subscribing. And if you've ever found comfort in an animal during a lonely time, leave a comment below. Tell us their name. Your story might help someone else feel seen. Thank you for watching.